Okay, so action potential. Generally, we'll use the video from the teacher's pet, and I will also add some comments to it to make it easier to understand. If you want, generally it would be good if you would like this video, original video. I mean, let's now start. And we'll go with the action potential. What is it?
I've said before that a nerve impulse is an electrical signal that travels along the neuron, but it's not quite electricity as you may know it. Electricity is the flow of electrons, but in a nerve impulse we use the word potential to describe the movement of charged particles across the membrane of a cell. The charged particles flow like a wave down the axon, moving in and out.
Exactly. So this is a very important concept. As we already know, here we have a flow of the ions. Yes, those charged particles are obviously ions. So in our body, we do not have of the normal flow of the electricity like through the cable. We have the flow of electricity as a movement of ions. This is a very important concept.
Out of the cell. The movement is mostly of positively charged ions, not negatively charged electrons like you might imagine. Let's look even closer at the cell membrane. At rest, when a neuron isn't firing, there's a high concentration of sodium ions outside of the cell membrane, and also a high concentration of potassium ions in the cytosol of the cell. The sodium and potassium channels are gated and closed. Because of the difference in number of sodium and potassium ions, as well as the presence of negative ions like chlorine, there's an overall negative internal charge of negative 70 millivolts. The beginning of an impulse is...
So now we are at the point of the resting membrane potential. Resting membrane potential, so what you already know from the last topic.
Marked by depolarization. This means that the voltage-gated sodium channel is opened and the sodium rushes into the cell. The influx of...
Okay, so now think for a moment why the sodium rushes into the cell. Yes, stop the video and think for a moment why the sodium rushes into the cell. Okay, so the sodium rushes into the cell because the concentration of the sodium outside of the cell is far higher than inside. Simple like that. And we know by knowing how the diffusion works, that the substances always wants to get from the place of the higher concentrations of ions to the place of the lower concentrations of ions. So now, why does diffusion of the sodium ions happens only after the channels are opened? One more time. Stop the video for a moment and think. Okay, because the cellular membrane is semi-permeable. So in normal cases, the sodium ions cannot get through the cellular membrane because the cellular membrane would not get them through. But when the channels are open, the gates for the sodium ions are open, so they rush through in order to try to equalize the concentrations.
Positive charges quickly shifts the electric potential of the membrane so that now the outside is more negative and the inside of the cell is more positive.
So just to be sure that you understand this, normally it's opposite, yes? Normally you have negative inside, positive outside. But now we have the action potential. We had a lot of positively charged sodium ions. So we have more positive inside, so inside become more positive, and because of it, outside becomes relatively more negative. Yes, we took positively charged particles from outside to inside. That's why outside becomes more negative, inside becomes more positive, because of this movement of the sodium ions.
This change in polarity will close the sodium gate. Nearby is the voltage-gated potassium channel, which will now open and allow potassium ions to flow.
Okay. About this, we'll generally talk next time more. Okay, I suppose it's enough for now.